Hello YouTube, it's Cat from Set Free and Pass, and I'm going to be going through my updated deck profile for March for the Live Twin Stroke Evil Twins. So I previously uploaded a video about a month ago with my Live Twin deck, which I've now changed slightly, and I'm going to go through. So I'm going to break this down into the main cards, monster cards, spell and traps, hand traps, and then the extra deck. The main monsters of the deck are Live Twin Lila. So this hasn't changed since the first profile I put up. I still see this is the most important starter in the deck over Yugioh, because Lila allows you to go into Frost, and Frost is the card that allows you to draw during your opponent's turn when they essentially draw a card. So you want to get into that as much as possible, and it's more useful than the Yugioh, which goes into Treat. But Yugioh, same effect to Lila. Whenever you summon out a Yugioh or a Lila, you can then bring out the other, depending on which one you've got out. You then have two Frost. So standards before, Frost is the card where it's in the graveyard. If your opponent draws a card, you get to draw a card during their turn. So it gives you the opportunity to do multiple draws per turn. And then one Treat. Treat is a really good card again. Not only is it an extender, but also if one of your opponent's monsters attacks one of your evil twins, basically, you can then reduce their attack points, which means that if they attack you with a 3000 beater and they do 1800 damage, they then become 1200 damage permanently, basically. And then the evil twins, Yugioh and Lila. So this primarily in most decks is to allow you to use Trouble Sunny, but I have found that you can sometimes get out. It's a 4400 attack card at the same time. So again, very useful in this deck, and it's mandatory because of the fact you want to be able to use that Trouble Sunny's effect to discard it from your deck to be able to pop a card. So now we're on to the spells. So the first one is Sunny Snitch. Mandatory within a Live Twin deck is you need 3 of these. This allows you to search out your Yugioh and Lila monsters. So how I said it in the combo video, and have a look at that, and I'll add that in the description below, is that basically you want to use this as late as possible. So if you do have a start in your hand, play that first to see if it gets negated before you play this. If you play this first to get a start when you have another start in your hand, you're potentially going to give away what you actually have. I always try and use this as late as possible in the combo as possible to extend, but if you do need it, it starts off everything, and it also has the burn and life gain effects as well. Secret password. So this is the rotor for the rotor. So if the Sunny Snitch is the rotor of the deck, so Secret Password allows you to basically get the rotor. It also helps you with getting home and with the trap card, which I use as well. Speaking of home, I use 2 of them still. Home is important because the fact it not only allows you to extend, but it also can start. So if you draw this in your opening hand but no starters, use this, discard a card to basically get out your starter to then start your combo off. Or alternatively, if your original starter gets ashed or whatever it would be, you then use this to essentially start off. Or alternatively, extend out, which then goes into like your Cypher plays, which I still play in this deck. Then run 3 cross-out detonators. So I do run quite a few hand traps as ones, but I use this because of the fact that Live Twins do suffer against hand traps. So if you do stop their starter and you don't have any extension, you basically ends your turn and potentially ends the games for you. So having this in your deck helps. Also, you do suffer quite heavily with Nibiru, so having Nibiru in the hand traps, which we'll get to in shortly, means you can stop that from happening, because to get into Evil Twin, it's a 6 summon, which means obviously if you can't get to that, then it kind of shut you down quite badly. And because of the fact we're running a heavy hand trap meta at the moment, I use Triple Tactics. So generally I use it for the draw 2, because this deck does struggle if you're stuck, but at the same time ripping the card from your opponent's hand or taking their monsters then link off into your Live Twins is also a very good option as well. So it's a very good utility card. 2 is just about right, because I don't want to draw too many of them, because if you do go against someone like an Outlich deck, you don't want to be struck with a load of bricks in your hand, but having 2 does help quite a lot. Then run 1 Call by the Grave. Pretty self-explanatory, stops hand traps, which as I mentioned before is pretty much stops this deck in its tracks, and it gives you that one ability to stop. 1 Harvest Feather Duster because you do struggle against back row decks where there's floodgates, so Tikaboo and Macro Cosmos and Skill Drain come to mind. This allows you to clear the board and be able to do your plays. And for the draw cards, also there I use Pot of Avarice still. Pot of Avarice is really good in this deck because of the fact that you do get multiple monsters into the grave quite quickly. So for example, in your first turn you could potentially get 4 or 5 monsters in your grave to be able to play this. You don't want to, because you want to have at least one Evil Twin, Leela and Kizakill in your graveyard to be able to use Trouble Sunny. But if you are in a situation where you need to draw cards, you should not be in a situation turn 2 onwards unless you've had a really bad first few turns, not having 5 monsters in your grave with the amount of hand traps this deck runs. And then for the one trap, outside the hand traps, is Evil Twin Challenge. I find this one basically is a really good card in this deck because it's your Hulk in this deck, or your Riser for example, and we know that those cards are quite good within this meta, and this one for a trap card essentially allows you to link summon in your opponent's turn to then start off, so you get your Leela for example from your grave, which then allows you to link it to your Leela, which then allows you to get the Kizakill from you, or alternatively the other way around, and then start your plays off basically. So onto the hand traps. So I run 3 Ash Blossoms, sorry for the different types, but this is what I have. This could alternatively be Lancia, but I find Ash works quite well. But I have, when I side out in my own one, which I'm not going to go into detail here, I do put Lancia and I change it for these if I'm against, say for example, Thunderlees, PK, or something along those kind of lines. Also then I run 2 Ghost Ogres. Not only for the fact Cross-Out Designator to get these, but because the fact we're in a format where we have the Brave or the Adventure engine, this gets rid of the Adventure cards, and also any kind of effects on the field, you can actually destroy them if they activate, and it's really good in terms of just that disruption. We do run 1 Nibiru. Potentially this is one where you might think about more, but I don't have enough space. But this basically is great in this format for against your opponent, but more importantly it's for your Cross-Out Designator. As I mentioned before, your deck does get hit by this quite badly, so having the Cross-Out Designator in your hand, using Nibiru to stop them using Nibiru, can be the difference between basically having a good board or having nothing at all. I then do run 1 Scythe. There is the ability to go into the Scythe Lord because I've gone through my tutorial combo video previously, but also you can use it Cross-Out Designator to stop someone else's Scythe, so it's just important to have it in the deck from both perspectives. DD Crow. So DD Crow is great in this format. Not only does it, the fact with Cross-Out Designator stop them getting rid of your Trouble Sunny or one of your your Evil Twins out of the graveyard, or whoever Kizakill or Leela, but also if your opponent is running a Phoenix Enforcer, gets rid of that, which is an irritation to this deck to say the least. And then we're on 1 Effect Veiler, again for Cross-Out Designator, but also it's a really good generic hand trap to have in deck. And I run 3 Infinite Impermanence because of the fact that I find this one to be the best utility hand trap in the game over Effect Veiler, because I tend to want to use it during my opponents and my turn, and this has that ability, and also shutting down their column as well is also great. So those are the hand traps. So the extra deck, I still stay by you need 3 Kizakill monsters because of the fact this is the one that you're going to go into the most, because after turn 1, as I've mentioned previously, where potentially if you're going first, this will be the last one. Any other turn, you're going to want to link into this to bring out the Leela in your grave back. Therefore, you're going to need 3 of these at any given time. Plus, it's great for the ability to draw as well. And the reason why I only run 2 Leelas is for that same reason, is if you'll always want to bring this one out from the grave, so therefore you won't be linking into this. So having the second one just means if anything happens to it, you've got a backup there. But ideally what you'd be doing is you'd be linking into Kizakill with Leela in the grave, bringing out Leela, which means you don't have to link into multiple amounts. So having 2 of them is the right amount, but also with having your part of Avarice, sorry I forgot what the name of it was, you can then put them back into your extra deck anyway. You have to run 3 Trouble Sunnies, as I mentioned in the first video, that basically you can go through 2 of these in one turn quite simply by just going into your leave twin, summoning into that, attacking, bringing out these 2, which means it goes to the grave, and then you bring out another 1, that means you've only got 1 left in your deck. So it's just important basically to have all 3 of these, and again, because of Petal Avarice, you can then bring them back to your deck. As I've mentioned previously before, because of the fact that if you bring out the Evil Twins, they do restrict you when they use an effect to be able to bring out Fiends, so it has altered the way how I use my extra deck. I was using access code, and I found because of the restriction you can't tend to do it, which is obviously a bit of a pain. So I've took that out, but I've kept in Unchained Abomination because of the fact it's a 3000 attacker, and the fact it's a link 4, so you both, if you don't want to go into Troublesome, you can go into this. And in both end phases you can then destroy a card, but also if anything destroys by a battle you can destroy a card as well, which again, multiple destruction for basically a free one, for the sake of 1 starter you can go into this quite easily. I then use Linkuriboh. This is a new addition. The reason why I've got this is if I am getting stopped for whatever reason, or if I'm playing against like a back row heavy deck, like an Outlich deck, having Linkuriboh is quite good because of the fact each live twin, not the extenders, so not Frost and Treat, which I believe are Zombie and Aqua. As long as it's the 2 Leela and Kill, you can go into this quite easily. And because of the fact you can tribute this to stop a trap, it's also great from that. So it's just an option available. As I've said before, I use Dagda. Well, what can you say about it? It's not banned, so if you can use it, use it. But remember, as I said before, don't go into the Evil Twin cards before you go into this, because it locks you into your Fiend monsters, and this being the fairy you can't do. I then use Transco Talker, again for the OTK. I don't tend to use this very often, but it's either this or someone like Unicorn. And Unicorn wasn't getting much use because Leela does what Unicorn does and much easier. But this allows you basically to do an OTK by when it's linked to the with the arrows, which with this gives 500, so you got 38. And if it goes to a twin, it gets an extra 500, and potentially you can do a 1-turn kill basically with just your twins with Transco Talker. So it's just to give you that option if you do have the ability to do so. And then for the XZ package, I still use the Calvary into Zeus. Calvary's, I personally think, is a better card than, I can't remember the other one is, but the can't be destroyed by effects. 2000 attack, not being able to destroy the battle. Going into Downard, going into Zeus. I've never had a situation where I've gone, I really wish it was the other one. 2000 attack is, and not being able to destroy a battle. I can't see a reason why you, other than basically against someone who has essentially going to win, no matter what you do, this should be able to get through, no problem at all. So that's my Live Twin Evil Twin profile. So thanks guys for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed it and you've learned a bit more about the deck. If you enjoyed this content, please like the video, leave a comment, whether or not good, bad, whatever, we're still trying to grow. And please give it a subscribe if you want to hear more content from me or Bit. So this is Kat from Set Free and Pass signing off. Thanks guys, bye.